was as Luther chose because it is linked to him. Luther's name dad, Hans Luther. Luther na is from German, but in English is Luther. And Margaret Lutherman were born in Saxony too. His dad was worked as a miner, successful in a miner in tatay. And the mining was a big deal for lots of places in Saxony because there were more valuable materials like silver, gold, and copper in the ground, and hundreds of families like Luther's depending on mining to make a living. Fast forward in his encounter with God. Martin Luther, in his encounter with God, and the event took place in July 2, 1505. When Luther was a young student at the University of Erfurt, he was traveling back to Erfurt from his home in Mansfield. He found himself caught in a severe thunderstorm near the village. Fearing for his life, Luther made a desperate plea, not to God actually. Ang mga istoryang gambal gidagan ng pangamuyo sa kay Saint Anne. Sino Saint Anne? Siya ng patron saint ng mga. So actually, in some sense, it's a lot of us. He prayed to God, but actually he prayed to Saint Anne because Saint Anne is the same with the miners, but promising to become a monk if he survived. As we all knew, Martin Luther survived the storm, and true to his promise, he made a life-altering decision to leave regular studies at Inter Augustinian Monastery in Erfurt. And Luther's decision to become a monk, pursue a religious vocation, greatly disappointed his father naman. Ay gusto sa tatay ang maging lawyer siya. Pero na frustrate at sakit, walang ako lang yung perspective ng hibig sa tatay. Kaya mapalit sa mga Luther. Kasi sa mga tatay, gari din yung bata, gusto mong pastor mahibig ka man. And this decision led to the desperation of his dad. Therefore, the wild war, the making, how he was made, how the wild war was made. Luther's parents valued actually education, and they sent him to the local school to receive basic education. His early schooling involved learning, reading, of course, writing, arithmetic. Hindi mo madulang natin. At the age of 14, nung nag-freedom ko ba, ang ito ginamang reform sa patay, age 15, o tiara ko lang na. Hindi na malaman ng leader, sabi sila po, pangaman ako. So, good life reform, very galing mga hindi nga nidang na may masin lamang ng naga. But anyway, at the age of 14, Luther was sent to the Latin school in Magdeburg, the larger town where he continued his education. This was the common path for the young boys of his time who showed what? Academic promise. Meaning, ang mga reformers at the time, they allowed intellectual. Kasi pagkamatula actually sa mga debate, nasakitan yung buod ko, there are some Christians who turned back against Luther's teachings and theologies and doctrines. Usually sa bato sa ila, wala kasi ng lider, maghambal sila ang naman. Ang nalabot ni Martin Luther, wala ang nalabot. You don't have the ground to criticize the guys to the monks because they have intellectual achievement wala ang nalaban. In fact, we go to that later on. Again, Martin Luther's father, Hans, was a prosperous miner and had planned for Martin Luther to study law to become a lawyer. Unfortunately, God had another plan for Martin Luther. God's will. What? God's will prevails. Luther was an intellectual man. And here's some of the qualities that made him as an intellectual man. If you want to follow his footsteps, number one, he was a voracious reader and had a vast knowledge of the Bible. theology, and any other subjects. He was a brilliant thinker and was able to articulate his ideas in a clear and persuasive ways. He was at the same time a gifted writer, hymn composer, and his works are widely read and influential. So let's move a little bit further to Martin Luther's academic advancement. Luther's enrollment as a law student in the University of Erfurt began in 1501 and ended in 1505. During these 5 years, some historians say 6 years, he engaged in academic subjects related to law and received solid education in legal matters. Sayang, wala pamatian si attorney Basiao to give us actually the message, the subject matter under Augustine. So, kung alam din si Martin Luther, which was his initial path before his theological pursuits and contribution acquired critical thinking skills. Unfortunately, he never completed his law degree. In his monastic life, Luther entered Augustinian monastery in Erfurt, Thesis in 1517. At the same time, he was a gifted writer and oratory skills. Luther's exceptional writing and oratory skills developed over time and were evident of his sermons in his treatises and corresponding with others. The skills were honed throughout his life. Influenced by the key thinkers, Luther's exposure to the work of the theologians of St. Augustine naman ay mismo arasa sa monastery sa Augustinian. So, tanan ng mga writings, sila ko ginagod rushes reader, wala na nagtulog. Kasi Richard, nabasa, wala nagtulog yan. Basa lang yung basa. He was exposed to the writings and theologies of St. Augustine and in comparison to the ideas of his own theological perspective occurred during his years of theological study and reflection in the monastery. In other words, in our own language, gagata ang ulo ang bagul ni Martin Luther sa kaalamon sa tanan ng mga subject matter that enter whatever he puts himself in. Ang pinagid ng na-admire ko sa iya is a young legal mind. He was trained legally. And of course, the Greek and Hebrew language education na nagbulig sa paglantaw sa pulong sa Diyos almost accurately that led to the discovery of the five source. Who was Martin Luther by personality? Martin Luther was a confident man who was not afraid to stand up for his beliefs, even when it meant facing persecution. He was also a charismatic leader who was able to inspire others to follow him. Martin Luther is stubborn. Luther could be stubborn and was not always willing to compromise. And this sometimes led to conflict with others, but also helped him to stay true to his beliefs. Martin Luther was impulsive. Si Pedro man, and was not always careful about the consequences of his own actions, and sometimes led him to make mistakes, but it also helped him to be bold and at the same time innovative. Martin Luther loved self-depreciation. He was not afraid to make fun of himself, and he often did so in his writing and speeches on one of his famous works, the 95 Theses. Luther wrote, "I am not a good man, but I am called to be a doctor." Another word of the freedom of Christian Luther wrote, "I am the chief of sinners." Luther also made fun of himself in his speeches and his sermon. For example, one said, "I am a donkey, but I am God's donkey."